The Chromebook 13 from Acer is one that I've been quite excited about since it was first announced a couple of months ago. Um, it promised a completely new chip to the existing models, so this one's running on an Nvidia Tegra K1. Along with this, it's got a kind of more stylish design, um, zero noise, sort of fanless system, larger screen on this one than some of the ones that we've been using before, and that goes up to a 1080p. And in theory an enormous 13-hour battery. So the initial impressions don't really disappoint. The size is good, the white plastic construction is pretty solid, and doesn't feel particularly cheap as some Chromebooks can feel. Going around the sides, there's two USB 3.0 ports, there's a fully recessed SD card slot and a full-size HDMI out. Comparing it to a MacBook Air 13-inch, it's kind of similar footprint actually, and quite a similar weight. When in use, everything works as it should. Boot times are way less than 10 seconds. It's quick to launch the browser and connects to both N and AC Wi-Fi networks. The model I have has 4GB of RAM and a 16GB SSD. This one actually has the standard kind of HD 1366 display. Talking to the screen itself, it's not actually that bad for a Chromebook. Yeah, the viewing angles could be a little bit better, but it's plenty bright enough, and the kind of 13-inch size seems good for a Chromebook. Gives a good amount of space to work with. It's a matte display. It's actually got quite a big bezel, particularly underneath it. And I guess if I had to compare it to other machines, particularly Acer ones, it's a better screen than what the C720's got. The 1080p version is obviously going to be better again, but it kind of has a hit on battery life and makes it a little bit more expensive. General performance actually has been a bit of a mixed bag in my experience so far with the Chromebook 13. No problems running the kind of usual 8-10 tabs that I have going. And experienced no problem in the web apps that I tested on it. But it is noticeably slower at rendering pages than the C720 is, and scrolling's quite choppy while the pages are actually loading. I noticed that sometimes at typing in the Omnibox at the top also kind of shows this same choppiness when the page is still loading. Interestingly though, moving from the Chrome OS stable channel to the beta channel did actually improve performance, and the benchmarks I ran kind of showed about a 15% improvement. So I guess what this means is that there are some optimizations for the Tegra K1 that's still being added to Chrome OS. But overall, don't get me wrong, the performance is less than the Haswell, the Intel Chromebooks, but I still feel it's perfectly acceptable for the uses that people generally are going to have for Chromebooks. But it's just a bit of a shame that it's not an advancement over previous models. One of the other features being marketed with the K1 chip is the more powerful graphics performance. I did have a play with a few WebGL demos and games, and it does actually handle them pretty well. It's a minority of the things that I want to use on a Chromebook right now, but I think as we go forward, we'll see more benefits with WebGL on this machine. Keyboard and touchpad actually pretty great on this one. Being 13-inch in size of machine, nothing kind of feels cramped up. Keyboard's full size and typing's pleasant. There's no noticeable flex as you sometimes get in cheaper machines. And the touchpad actually, this is the second best Chromebook touchpad that I've used, the best one being the Chromebook Pixel, which is a big positive for me, and also if you're someone that's used a lot of Apple laptops before, it'll be a huge positive as well, because it's not actually a bad touchpad at all. Still saying that I had to turn up the sensitivity in the settings a little bit just to get it how I wanted it to be, and disabling the tap to click was a kind of must, because that was annoying. Yeah, so overall I think the input hardware is pretty good. There is a touchscreen version of this coming, but I think that might be an unnecessary extra expense for many people. Probably for me it would be. One of the real star features of the Acer Chromebook 13 is its battery life. This model is advertised having 13 hours of battery, Well, I'm not actually running any battery benchmarks. I can tell you that I've been using it for 7 hours straight. The battery's still got 45% left in it, and it predicts 6.5 hours remaining, which is pretty impressive actually, and seems to live up to the advertised claims. Generally speaking, like the 8-hour battery life on most Chromebooks, it isn't actually going to get me through a work day. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a try and see if it makes it all the way. Overall, though, the Acer Chromebook 13, it does live up to its advertised claims in most ways. In terms of screen, battery life, keyboard, touchpad, and design, it's definitely an upgrade over the C720. Its performance, though, is not quite what I'd expected. Many reports kind of suggested the Tegra K1 would rival the speeds of the Intel-based Chromebooks. I actually don't think that's true. It's quick enough for most of what will be demanded of it, but it's definitely not a step forward in the performance stakes.